Welcome back to the Culturally Distinct Podcast. It's your boy DJ KO. I'm glad you guys tuned back into the show. I'm glad you guys, been tuning in and hitting me up. You know, this month, the month of February, has been a long month, you know, especially those individuals who went down there to Louisiana that I saw for Mardi Gras. You know, it's been exhausting. You know, it was a great week. What week was that? That was like 2 weeks ago. It was a great week, but I enjoyed it. The people that was down there, I appreciate the hospitality, seeing old friends, old family. I thank you guys for giving me all the compliments that you got me for the show and everything. So hopefully, you know, I see you guys again to come to Houston and we can make things happen. But anyway, to the viewers, I'm glad you guys subscribed to the channel. I'm glad that you told a friend to tell a friend that we got what we got going on over here, and I thank you guys for that. So today we have a special show for you guys today. You know, last week it was a good one. You know, the young lady came on and she had a lot of information to give us in terms of her lifestyle, the book that she wrote, and the inspiration behind it. But I think I'm gonna make this my book month because this brother that came on today is coming on today. He also has a book, and it's very inspirational. And I want to bring him on because I think his story is very intriguing. And I think it's going to help a lot of people out. So, everybody, I'd like to welcome you to the show. My guest today, Mr. Clarence White III. Hey. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, how about for you?
Oh, man, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I'm still tired, man. I've been ripping and running, man, but I'm here.
That's what happens with successful people.
Hey, man. Hey, yeah. I'm glad you said it, man. Look, how they say it? I try to told you, but I try to told you, you know what I'm saying? And you over here looking like $1 million, man.
Yeah, if you got to look it before you become it, you know what I mean?
That's what they say.
That's what I believe, you know, you play the part before you become the part. That's what practice is about.
Hey, that's what they say. Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
That's it. And
right?
Perfect practice makes perfect.
Oh, I was going to go there. Oh, yeah. So you was taught right. That was good. Yeah. So, Clarence, look, let me ask you, where are you from?
Originally from Gainesville, Florida.
Okay.
Well, actually born in Tallahassee, Florida, but only spent a little bit of time there. So my roots, I claim, are for Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to talk no noise. Shout out to, hold up, I got to just do this right now. I got to do this. Shout out to all my HBCUs. As y'all know that, you know, this show is led by a proud Jaguar, of Jaguar land, you know. And, you know, of course, you're a rattler over there in Tallahassee, you know. Yeah. I give all love to HBCUs. Yeah. Only when we play each other, that's when it's a rival.
Second generation rattler at that.
Oh, okay.
And now my third generation is on the yard as we speak. So I'm deeply entrenched, deeply embedded in them clay hills of Tallahassee, Florida.
So, okay.
But yeah, we won't talk any noise about other HBCUs today because I'm with you. I'm for the entire culture of HBCUs. Except for on the day we playing each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think we play y'all this year.
Not this year.
Yeah. Hopefully, you know, in the future we will. But
yeah, of course.
Then we could talk some noise.
Yeah, that swag rivalry is coming back. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. So you have I know it's multiple things that you do.
Yes.
And we're here to talk about your book that you have. But before we begin into the book, before you started writing, what like in your life, what were you before a writer? As far as in terms of your life, jobs, profession,
The way that I sort of describe who I am in terms of how I live into a profession or vocation, everything that I do centers around helping people, and not just in a general sense, but sincerely helping people advance in their lives to whatever the next level of what their lives can be or should be. Let me break that down into what that looks like from my daily activities. I'm a senior pastor of a United Methodist Church. So from a pastoral standpoint, whether it's preaching, teaching, or just pastoring, it's helping people advance in their lives by understanding what God's call is on their lives, what God's purpose is for their lives. I'm a commercial banker, and so what I used to say is I sell money for a living when I do that. And someone corrected me several years ago, and they said, no, you lease money because you want that money back.
Correct.
So the money that I share with folks in that regards to help their businesses, it's to advance their projects to the next level. I also do relationship coaching. Primarily, I do crisis counseling or crisis coaching for relationships, and what that looks like are folks who are going through divorce or considering divorce, to help them understand other options for their lives and for their relationships. So I help them advance in that relationship to the next level. So just about every aspect of my life is in regards to helping people.
Okay, that's good. Service, I know, shout out to that.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody that's in the service industry, because one thing I know, as you were saying that, one thing that popped in my mind, one of the greatest, I guess, I ain't say goals, but one of the greatest parts out of life, when you can help somebody and you see that whenever you help them, that helped them advance to wherever they're trying to advance to, but it benefited you better than it benefited them, because you just,
Sometimes.
you know what I'm saying? Because it's like you gave this out of your heart,
Yeah.
and you didn't want no return.
Yeah.
And out of that help, they advanced to wherever they try to advance.
Absolutely.
And that, touch your heart.
It's a reciprocal nature of life in general. The more you sow, the more you reap.
Yes. It's a principle.
Not that to say that you sow just to reap.
Right.
Right. You sow because that's what you've been called to do. But it's true, or at least it has been for my life. The more I give, the more I get.
That's good. So look, I want to ask you this, because you say you're a pastor and you're a banker.
Yes.
So traditionally, right,
Yeah.
in our community, and it's it's fair for me to say this, in our community, our preachers, ministers, preachers, they taught us the word, but they never taught us business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or we might have somebody in the neighborhood that knows business, but they never talked about the word.
Yeah.
So you have the best of both worlds.
Unfortunately, I have not figured out how to marry those
The two.
Even earlier on in my career as a business banker or commercial banker, for a time I represented a large contingency of churches here in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them to understand how to merge faith and finances, they don't have to be independent, was a struggle. It's very difficult to accomplish that. So I haven't quite mastered that. Not that I've given up on it, but it's a tough call.
You know what? Even though that, I was about to say that's a good business model. If whoever creates that business model, finances and faith. Because the thing, you can have faith and have finances, but at the same time, principle is principle.
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, money is money.
Yeah.
If you have the principles on how to make money and the principles how to serve God and believe in God, and kind of, because, we was always taught that the love of money is the root of all evil, right? So everybody's like, I don't want to have money. No, I do. I want to have a lot of money.
But the word didn't say money was the root of it.
The love
of
it.
It's an inappropriate perspective on money, which causes you to go evil. But here's what I say. There doesn't need to be a new book written on how to merge faith and finances, because the book has already been written. The Gospels, the 4 Gospels, are full of Jesus' teachings.
Okay.
And those teachings, by far, are slanted towards economics more than anything else. Jesus talks about money, and he talks about the appropriate uses of money and the inappropriate uses of money. We just don't buy into it that way, right? Because it's like, well, I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about the faith aspect of it.
Right.
Well, why limit it, right? If I give you, I'm country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm country.
The South
so
is
if you
country,
give me a plate and you got me some collard greens, some cornbread, some rice, a nice protein, let's just call it fried chicken for the sake of it, some yams, y'all might call it sweet potatoes, but we call it yams, you know what I mean? Why would I just eat one of those items when I got a full plate of everything else? And go, well, that's not what my favorite is.
Right.
No, indulge in the full plate. And that's what we miss a lot of times in scripture or just life lessons in general. We only want to take what we want to take from it, and we miss so much more.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway.
But that's good, though. I
didn't come here for that.
Yeah, right. But that was good. Somebody need to hear that. So we're gonna fast forward to the book. So the title of the book, Heartbreak.
Yeah.
The heart I broke was my own.
Yeah.
Right? So that in itself is touching, and at the same time is scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, one, it's like a vulnerability, and awareness,
Yeah.
right? So the heartbreak is the fear side of it. It's like, okay, I trusted in something, I trusted in the process, or I trust in this imaginary thought that what I thought I picked it out to be in my mind. And when you said it was my own, that's the awareness comes in. That it's like, so where did the title come from?
Man, you hitting on something really powerful there. So to kind of piggyback off the way you introduced the title, my goal in life, literally the first goal that I actually wrote down for myself, was to be a husband and a father.
Okay.
And I didn't want anything else. I didn't grow up with the ideas of being a professional athlete or a millionaire or a powerful business person or a political figure or having social standard or status. The only thing I cared about was being a husband and a father.
Okay.
So recognizing that I failed at both breaks my heart. Recognizing that I failed on my own accord and not because somebody else caused me to fall. See, it's one thing to trip over something. We had this saying at the Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, on the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, Florida, that you weren't truly a rattler until you had fallen on the yard because of the hills you would trip.
Correct.
It's one thing to have somebody else trip you. It's another thing to trip on your own feet. So to find that I caused myself to fall and fail hurts even more. So that's one part of the heartbreak. And the reason that I recognize that the heart that I broke was my own. The second piece is this. The subliminal message to that is the person that I really hurt in that process, amongst all the other folks that I talk about in the book, is my oldest son, who is now a junior at Florida A&M.
Okay.
And because he is me, then breaking his heart breaks mine too.
Okay. I get it.
Because his heart is my heart.
Right.
You see what I mean?
I got you.
So it has a dual message, if you will. There's a duality to the title.
Okay, so what's the inspiration behind the book?
Very good question. It came at the point of realizing that I had lost my child at that moment. He was 12 years old, and he had begun to desire to take the last name of the man who had served as his father.
Okay.
Through his rearing experience. And there had always been that geographical distance between us.
Okay.
But now seemed like there was a moment of finality that I would no longer have my child because he would no longer carry my last name. Okay. So, not being a selfish person in general, I had to let that go and honor the wishes of my child. But it dawned on me that what he also deserves is not only the right to make that choice, but he has the right to know how I made these bad choices.
I got you.
So I decided to pen out for him what my life looked like and how did I get to the place of making the decision of leaving his mother and him through telling my story.
Okay.
And that's how the book came about.
So I take it that you had conversations with your wife and son.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So in these conversations that you had, were they did they affect anything in terms of writing the book or certain topics or certain chapters in the book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The primary thing was to keep the focus on me.
Okay.
And not try and tell someone else's story, right? I have this theory that there's no one wrong person in a bad situation.
Okay.
Everyone is complicit to the outcome. So if you look at it as a pie, whether you're 1% complicit or 99% complicit, or if it's 50-50, whatever the case may be, everybody has something they could take ownership of, right?
Right.
But then it begs the question, who has the right to tell whose story? From this perspective, I really only wanted him to know what his father feels like I could have done different or better.
Okay.
The struggle for me was not to bring in some of the things that I know about, maybe some decisions or some actions that his mother may have
Got you.
contributed to the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bit of a challenge. So I had to make that decision early on to stay as authentic as I could to just my story,
Okay.
and not make it look like I'm casting blame on someone else. Yeah.
I want to go back. You use this term, failed, right?
Yeah.
You said failed, and you said it in the past tense. You said failed, and I want to know what's your definition of failed,
Yeah.
because not just you, but
Yeah.
a lot of individuals go through situations like this, right?
Yeah.
Same situation, and they in their mind they say they failed.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I think failed is when you're dead.
Yeah.
You have no other, you can't come back from it.
Yeah.
But you always, as you live, you have another chance.
Yeah.
Right. So what is your definition of failed?
Let's launch off of that springboard. You keep giving me these diving platforms. I'm gonna keep jumping off of. I don't think there's anything as such as a permanent failure, not even death.
Okay.
Like, there's ways to be redeemed in all circumstances or situations, right? So even in my failures, as you said past tense failed, I still know that something redeemable or something positive has come out of those situations.
Okay.
But let's go with the question you asked me. Failure to me is simply missing the mark. That there was a target, there was a goal, there was a preferred outcome for something that did not happen.
Okay.
And then the degree of your failure, if you will, can be measured by how far off you are from that target.
Right.
Regardless of how it got caused or who caused it. If you look at where you were setting out to go and where you landed is where you determine the degree of that failure. The redemption comes on, all right, now what do we do? Do we set back our sights back on the course that we were looking for?
Right.
Or we look at this as an opportunity to sail for new shores, right? Let's take a really controversial example. Those who study know that Columbus never was looking for the quote-unquote Americas.
Correct.
He failed miserably in the target that he was looking to reach. But look what it has led to.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The Americas. So there are redeemable outcomes from even our failures if we look for it hard enough.
Okay. So now, I want you to take me on this journey. So, the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? The beginning of this journey of writing, the process of it. Because the beginning, the process, and the end is three different things.
Totally
So I want you to take me through the beginning, the process, the pitfalls, the speed bumps, the setbacks, and the ending. What did that look like in this for this book?
For the book.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with this. It was an 8.5-year journey.
Okay.
Yeah. What I started with was an idea that I would just pen a letter to my kid and say, I understand the decision you want to make, and let me help you understand how I put us both in this position. Just write out a letter. At that first sitting down and putting pencil to paper, I had thousands of words. And at that point, I started thinking about what it would look like to edit this down to something that would be manageable for a 12-year-old to read. And at that point, I was like, there's too many examples in here for me to cut any of it out. So I just kept writing. And at some point I went, this is deeper than just a letter. I need to put together a full manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
It's still at that point, my thought was, I'm only writing this for my son.
Okay.
Just for him to have something to memorialize for him, his father's stories.
Okay.
Now, that motivation came from a couple of places. Primarily, I learned not long before that period something about my own life that I would classify as a generational curse. On both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side, I can go back 4 generations on one side, 2 generations on the other side. So combined 6 generations. there has been divorce, every relationship,
Mm-hmm.
not a single one, and a child outside of marriage,
Okay.
every single one.
Okay.
I became that fifth generation. So now on one side of my family, 5 generations, there's a male that leaves his family and then has a child out of wedlock.
Okay. And you would call that a generational curse.
5 generations, something's got to be in the blood. Something's got to be in the
By
blood.
genetic.
Something had to be in the blood, right? And so in my own story with my own father, who I'm named after and who I now love and appreciate dearly, there was a point in time in my life we didn't have that type of relationship. And I too wonder, how did we get here? Where I'm not reared by the man who I'm named after.
Right.
Why wasn't he in the household or involved in my life on a daily basis? It's never been a point where I didn't know who my father was. It's never been a time period where I did not have access to my father, if you will, just not on a daily basis.
Got you.
And so knowing about your father and knowing your father are two totally different things. So the same questions and wonderings that I had about my own relationship with my father, and knowing that he had the same about his father, who neither one of us has ever met. And there's a really interesting story behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can do the same thing on my mom's side of the family. I go, I don't want my kid to have those same questions. So what stories can I tell him, and what questions can I answer for him that I would have wanted to know about my own fathers?
That's where I was going. Because the thing, all right, so you kind of answered my next question. My next question was basically, do you see yourself, the reason, was it one reason you wrote the book because you saw yourself in your son?
Absolutely.
And you didn't want your son to, you didn't want your son to think how you thought towards your father, towards you.
Not necessarily, because that would suggest that I felt like I had control of what he thought. But what I did want him to have is, if he then begin to have those thoughts, he'll have a source document he can go to that might answer some of those questions.
Okay.
I can't tell him what to think, or nor can I tell him how to feel about it.
Right.
But he'll have my words and not just his thoughts. He will have his thoughts and my words to play with each other to come up with a different outcome.
Right.
Does that help?
No, I get it, 100%. So let me ask you about this, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you're very vulnerable in terms of when you're talking to your son. Because I don't know if you noticed, but you know your voice changed when you when you talk about your son. You get
those are my babies.
you get very vulnerable. Yeah. But the thing is, vulnerability is it's complicated for men.
Yeah.
A real man, especially if a man is, he's a provider. He's trying to do everything to make things operate properly. Vulnerability is tough. How did you deal with vulnerability?
Not very well.
Okay.
So I'm a born in the 60s, reared in the 70s,
Okay.
came out of school in the 80s. So I grew up in that area with some very bad philosophies, right? Men don't cry.
Yeah, right.
Period. You
That's
suck
it.
that up.
Right.
So what you got to do, you suck that up, right? That was one of the poor philosophies. There's many others that we won't try to delve into right now. And so learning how to emote or live into my emotions was really tough.
Okay.
For me, because I had to face some things that I'd been taught that I thought were beneficial for me.
Right.
Not knowing that internally they were really eating me up. So I could feel the pain, I could experience the pain, but didn't know how to release the pain or emote the pain.
Okay.
Well, that's not true. So my 2 primary hobbies are going to the gym, working out, lifting weights,
Okay.
and riding motorcycles.
Okay.
Think about that. The way I dealt with my pain was either causing myself more pain in the gym,
Right.
or taking
The
on
risk.
a dangerous,
Yes.
extreme hobby like racing motorcycles.
Right. The risk, very high.
Not sitting down talking to someone. Or sharing with a best friend or a pastor or a therapist.
We was never taught that.
Never even given as an option.
Option, yeah, at all. That wasn't an option.
Never.
Yeah, as a man, yeah.
So to go back to like the process of then writing the book, one of the reasons it took so long is a lot of times I would run into those emotional roadblocks, if you will, hurdles that I put in my own path, and I would just have to stop. stories that I would live into and remember vividly,
Yeah.
where in those moments when I was involved in those things, I didn't see the danger of them. But placing myself 20, 30 years removed from them stories, I'm going, wow, the damage I was causing.
Right.
Those persons as well as myself,
Okay.
you know? So I would have to stop sometimes for months at a time before I can go back. And I write longhand.
Okay.
So I have composite notebooks,
So you just,
and I hand wrote almost 600 pages
wow. Okay.
for the first draft, over 600 pages handwritten for the first draft of the book. So there's times I couldn't go on, so I had to put it up.
Wow. That's amazing. That's like when, I forget what it's called in psychology, but it's like, what is it called? I forget what it's called. But basically, when you pick something up and you can't put it down, but it's more of a, it's not a disorder. I forget what it's called. I can't think of it. But that's kind of what you're saying as far as writing. So let me ask you this, the awareness. When did you realize that you was aware of your situation? Because a lot of people live in situations,
Yeah.
right? Until one day they wake up and be like, what in the world I've been doing all this time, you know?
No, I knew immediately. So not giving too much about the book away, because I hope people will invest in the story and go out and support it. I chose to walk away from my marriage when my son was 4 months old.
Okay.
Our divorce was finalized when he was 8 months old.
Wow.
The day the judge signed the papers, she packed up a U-Haul and left town.
Mm.
And she moved from Houston, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And the lack of contact with my son at that point had an immediate impact on me. Even though we had our struggles in our marriage, from the time my son was born to the time he left at 8 months old, I saw my son every day.
Okay.
Every other night, he slept on my bare chest. We slept chest to chest. Every other night.
Right.
We didn't miss a beat.
Right.
So imagine that heartbeat.
That connection, yeah.
It's gone.
Gone, yeah.
And there's nothing I could do about it. In that very moment, I realized the gravity of the situation and how big my failure was. And I started thinking then, how do I make sure this doesn't live beyond me?
Right.
What do I do to protect my kids? I wasn't thinking in terms of books or writings or teachings or any of that. It was, at that point, is how do I change my life so that this doesn't
happen again, or the next generation.
The sins of the father shall visit upon the
That's
sons, right? Now, if I were to write a second book, the stuff I did after that time, way worse.
Okay.
Oh yeah, way worse.
Well, yeah, because that's like you know, it's like you sometimes you think it's your fault, or you could have did better, but that's like the grass is always green on the other side. Or we think the grass is always green on the other side until we realize it's not.
Yeah, I went off the deep end then. Because then it was reverting back to some of my old behaviors as a form of self-medication.
Right.
And I talk about some damage. I did some real damage.
But that's good though.
You know, and
that's
then
good.
Came back.
But that's good, and I'm glad, for us with your story, you're vulnerable about that, because a lot of men go through that same exact thing. They go through that, but they don't know how to articulate their feeling, or they don't believe in therapy, or they never saw it. It's a generational thing, or they might be around toxicity. Yeah. They just don't know. Yeah. You know, or they've been hurt. Yeah. You know, they just don't know. But I believe this is gonna help them out a lot. So let me ask you this about the book, for as the marketing standpoint of it. Because when did you write the book?
It was released for publishing on December 31st, 2022.
22.
So just released.
It's just released. Brand new, fresh on the market. Yeah. So now, how are we going to get this thing marketed, and where can we find the book?
Right now it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
And on barnesandnobles.com.
Okay.
As far as marketing, quite frankly, I've been doing what I would call guerrilla tactics. I've been going one person at a time.
Okay.
I haven't done any mass marketing campaigns, no social media campaigns. I haven't run any ads. I haven't published in any journals.
Okay.
It's literally, I've been going one person at a
time. Grassroots.
Phone calls, text messages, direct messages for the last month and a half.
Okay.
every day I reach out to a certain number of people. I can't go to sleep until I do. Part of that is not the way it should be done, obviously. I have other folks who I know who've released books at the same period of time, and I see their marketing campaign, and I'm super impressed with what they're doing. But I know what I know.
Right.
I started my first entrepreneurial venture when I was 8 years old, going door to door selling flower seeds and vegetable seeds.
Okay.
My first business was the same. It was a landscape business that I started at 9.
Wow.
I've done hand-to-hand sales since I was 8 years old.
All your life.
That's all I know.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it comes to my comfort level, it's let me get one person face to face or with these thumbs.
Right.
And hey, what's up?
Yeah, but I think it's impactful. Yeah, I think it's very impactful. It's going to help a lot of people, especially young men and older men.
Yeah. So I need help getting it out there. I need to change my marketing strategy and broaden it, scale up, if you will.
So what do you want people to get out the book? Expectations.
The biggest expectation is this: that in reading my story, it's more than just a memoir. It's to encourage people to understand that there's another side to the story. So for folks who've experienced what I call disrepair, disruption or disrepair in a relationship, whether it's been parental, whether it's been romantic, whether it's a sibling relationship, where they're not talking to that other person or that other person's not talking to them, it's to encourage them to seek the other side of the story. That person didn't do what they did that caused harm to you just because they were an evil person.
Right.
Something happened in their lives too. Doesn't mean that they're still not in a place that you may not feel comfortable talking to them about, because they may still be living in that hurt. But ask the question, what caused the hurt? What's in your story? What's in your journey that led you to that point? What series of decisions were made for you or that you made that brought you to that point? And in understanding that story, it opens them up, it opens their heart up to both healing and, more importantly, forgiveness.
Right.
And if they do that, then possibly they'll be open to moving forward. So what I envision in a perfect world is somebody will pick this book up that's a parent. They'll read it and go, my God, I never thought about whether or not I could have a relationship with my child who I didn't participate in their rearing for whatever reasons. I wonder if I tell my child my story,
right,
would that bring a new relationship for us? Or conversely, a child picks it up who was not reared by their biological parent and may have held on to some animosity because of that, thinking their parent didn't want them or their parent rejected them or the parent was just a bad person, and go, wait, I wonder what series of events or activities or decisions or poor philosophies my parent had at that time that led them to that decision. And who they were then is not who they are now, but it still helps me to heal and forgive by knowing that story. So it caused them maybe to pick up the phone, send an email, write a letter, reach out to a relative, connect with them just to hear that story.
So that's
my hope.
Let me ask you this: what is the relationship between you and your son right now?
Oh man, we're good.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, so that's redemption in that. So okay,
and that really changed around that same time frame. So therefore, him throughout high school, not as often as I would like because of the distance, or maybe that he would have liked. And then by the time he got into junior or senior high school, and he knew about the process of me writing a book, he's been excited about it the whole entire time. So yeah, we're good.
That's good. That's good. That's going to end on a good note for the show. Because now if you'd have said, well, we still in a bad place, I'm like, oh man, we went through all this and we in a bad place.
No, we're good.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So, last question. Any advice that the experiences that you went through, right, and what you learned from, any advice you're willing to give anybody, something simple, nothing major, nothing complicated, that you'll give somebody that is probably going through the same thing?
Sure. The primary piece of advice I would give is that nobody's perfect, and we're not set up to be perfect. And so to that end, we have to be willing to not only forgive others for their imperfections, more importantly, we got to be willing to forgive ourselves. That's the only way we're going to seek an opportunity to move forward.
Right.
Is if we embrace that. Hey, I made a mistake. And some mistakes are bigger than other mistakes, but no mistake is unforgivable.
That's good.
But we got to have a conversation about that.
That's good. So you see that? Now I gotta end the show on that, because that was like, what they call it in church? Benediction. Yeah, benediction, right? Yeah, a benediction. Guys, look, this is the book right here. Make sure. Where can we find it again?
On Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Make sure you go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, purchase you a copy. Make sure you purchase a couple of copies so you guys can have a book club and talk about it. And not just that, but look, I think you guys should purchase it for your sons and your dads, because, you know, it'd be a good read for them, you know, especially if you're trying to patch up a relationship or regretful of something that you think you can't repair. And like Clarence stated earlier in the show, redemption. Redemption is the biggest thing, because, you know, I don't want to get all spiritual and biblical, but, you know, the greatest redemption we had was, you know, Jesus Christ. Hey, but I don't want to preach for y'all. You know, we get ratchet on the show. So look,
ratchet righteous.
That's it. Ratchet righteous. Absolutely. So guys, man, look. Oh, Clarence, before we get out of here, what can the people find you exactly?
Hey, I'm on all platforms by my whole name, Clarence White.
Clarence White.
I'm not running from anybody. I'm not hiding from anybody.
Okay.
So if you type in Clarence White on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
okay,
you'll find me.
Got you. Make sure you guys go hit Clarence White. It's not Clarence White III. It's Clarence White.
Clarence White, yeah.
Okay, good.
Even though I am the third, but you'll find me by Clarence.
Got you. So make sure you guys go hit Clarence for some advice. Make sure you hit the church up. Make sure you buy the book. And if you see him in the street, if he's not, you know, busy and he has time, ask him for some advice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now y'all walk up on me. You already know what time it is. I'm like, look here, man. I got things to do. I'm just saying.
Holla at me. I'm here for it.
But anyway, guys, man, I appreciate you guys for tuning into the show. Of course, you know, this is the Culturally Distinct Podcast. I am your host, DJ KO. As I say this every week, I love you guys, and you can't do nothing about it. Peace about.